Good evening and welcome back to another episode of State of the SEL. The last one, I think, officially until LAN season. I'm sure we'll do something special for the LAN coming up in less than a month. But it's been a big week for the Southeastern Esports League, so we're here to break it all down. I'm Mr. Bepic, joined in the SEL booth with Infernosis. Scotty, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Informosis? What? They can't even pronounce
come
my
on,
name.
M and
How
N
many
right
years
next
has it
to
been,
each other.
Blake? What's happening here?
See, Infernosis, too many syllables. Scott is so efficient. I like that. You can do a lot more with Scott than Infernosis. I've always been a hater.
Always been a hater. Oh, that's good. You and Dallas both. You and Dallas both. Even with Dallas, his name being Mick, I still go by Dallas. Not even
Yeah.
It's just easier at that point. But I'm trying to escape away from the generic name that is Scott. Okay, Blake, we can't all just be from Blake to Bepic, right? We can't all just stay simple. We gotta sometimes get out there.
All right, fair enough. Well, Infermosis, let's get this show started. We had a pretty big matchup on Monday for Valorant. I hear maybe some Cumberland on Cumberland action. What went on?
Grand finals of all things, Blake. That's what went on, and it was a pretty darn good series. We expected likely to be fourth maps, if not five maps, but unfortunately didn't really have the chance to get to that at that point. Phoenix just decided they wanted us to be done with a quick 3-0 series, but it was really, really good from the get-go. I saw you had tuned in at one point.
Yeah.
But it was a very, very good time. Are we officially into our highlight section where I can break that down? Or
yeah, go for it.
Okay, cool. So map one was a pretty interesting one. We thought for sure that Destiny was going to be able to take a map victory there because they needed it on Haven, which we felt they were the single best team in the league on that map, and it was really close. Truly, it felt like Destiny shot themselves in the foot just slightly towards the middle of the second half. And a bit of a couple problems here or there in the first. There's a really big one, though, in the start of the second half where they made a mistake over expending a budget, and that caused them to essentially throw out a whole lot of the value they could have had, and a one-round difference was all they needed to make the full recovery and force OT to actually have a great shot. Case just tried to do everything for him, but couldn't get the job done overall. Haven was a masterclass from both of these teams, and like any of them, could take down anybody. Turn that around over to map 2, bit of a different tale. This was one where we were kind of shocked to see Lotus go with such a big difference between the two. What you expected to see coming out from Destiny was trying to keep things close, try to feed Case a little bit, and try to get the team overall working together. But Case got so shut down, they didn't really find substantial value. Compare that to Shooter on the other side, who dropped 20 kills. Shooter was creating so many gaps, so much space. The Lotus strategy from Destiny was, let's go in, let's make sure that we have a player using their From the Shadows, their Shrouded Step, I should say, our Omen Shrouded Stepping alongside our Duelist, and that puts two players in a space in comparison to what Phoenix were doing, which was just having Shooter go out and then everyone else walking through. It was very egregious, it was very aggressive, and it just didn't work the way they really wanted to, and I think moving two players into that gap made it so that Case's job was a whole lot harder to be successful within, and it led to them kind of falling apart. And then you turn it over to map 3, where we really expected it again to probably be another one of those really great shots for Cumberland Phoenix to just swing through. We knew they were the best Ascent team in the league, and they proved that here against Destiny. A 5-round disparaging difference on a map like Ascent that everybody's going to know is a pretty big margin, and Destiny tried. In Case, I think, entered the second half like 3-11, I think, or something like that. Like, it was not good, but eventually was able to come really alive, and that's where you saw Destiny really come back into it, because they won the first 4. They won their first pistol in the entire series and got 4 rounds in a row, and then lost the remainder of the first half entirely. And Phoenix just dominated, and they were so clean with it that there was just no comparing, really, the two sides overall when it comes to Ascent. And unfortunately, that meant because they didn't win on map 1, we didn't get to see map 4, which is another really great opportunity for Destiny to come through, because if I recollect correctly, it's supposed to be Pearl. I could be wrong about that, and I've talked a lot about how Phoenix aren't really super great at Pearl. They can win it like they did on Saturday in CVAL, but they're not the end-all be-all team for it. And then the last one to talk about would be the GMU UKY game for third place, as my second highlighted match down in our Rising Star playoffs. And GMU was able to do something that a lot of teams failed to do against UKY White, and that was actually take them down into 2-0 fashion, though very close scorelines. If you click over here on game 1, it was exceptionally close on Pearl. 13-9 is nothing to scoff at. A really great showcase from Yokai. 22 kills, 16 deaths, 3 assists, but Map 1 was not necessarily their most impressive performance. Turn that over to Map 2. Again, an exceptionally close game on Ascent, a scoreline you're kind of expecting a little bit closer, both teams in double digits. This is where Yokai went absolutely absurd. Top frags and top assists. The team goes absolutely crazy on their offense. Super effective. It goes back and forth, but you do see GMU come out on top, and they are guaranteed their third place team for the Rising Stars.
Well done. I mean, pretty good finish of the Rising Star playoffs, and we still have South Carolina and James Madison B playing as well on Thursday. Are we getting that streamed? Do we know if, since the finals is on Monday, if we get some extra room?
That's a good. You'll have to ask Fred at that point. I mean, that's him. That's him having a draw into the depths.
We got the budget. Come on,
the
Fred.
SEL. That's what I'm saying. I'm gladly coming on Thursday and doing. How many side projects done without budget, but pulling Dallas in for that? That's gonna be a different question for it. But I'd love to see that final get both Rising Star and normal playoffs grand finales in for the SEL on stream this week. That would be an absolute pleasure.
I have to know as well, like thinking about the Cumberland versus Cumberland finals, obviously that is a historic grand finals for SEL. I mean, we've never had an A versus B team finale like that. And we got kind of close with Rocket League this semester. I mean, Bruton Parker's A and B team could have played each other deep in the playoffs. We didn't see the domination that we saw out of the Cumberland Phoenix, out of Destiny. And so I tuned in a little bit late. I was doing some casting work on Monday, or I guess last night, and I tuned in during Ascent, and I was like, oh no, Phoenix have really sealed this one up, because I mean, that was a good map for them. But to play your B team in a grand finals, you have the pressure of winning the finals, but also you need to make sure you're beating your B team. And I have to wonder what vibes are like for that.
Yeah, especially considering that they are in that program, right? Their new main team, Phoenix, is all brought in from across the world, right?
Yeah.
To this university to play. And so your old primary team, that being Destiny, you know, having to take kind of a step back for, but still obviously being a major participant for the overall university and the program. Some of it's got to be like, okay, they're bringing in all this talent and we're still here. We're still trying to play. Let's try to show that we can be here just as good as them. And I kind of joked about it. If you're looking to start a new team from players all across the world, you had to look at Phoenix's absolute standout performance on their pistol rounds, which just created such a lopsided affair towards starts of halves that it capitulates in for impact later, because they like to think about 3 to 4 rounds ahead instead of just the first, second, and third in front of them. Just scout players who are really good with pistols, because there was a major difference between Destiny and Phoenix in effectiveness with pistols in their hands. And when you look at map 1 and it only being a 1-round difference to lead into OT, winning either of those pistols would have won you the map as a whole, because you're expected to get the second anyways. And it would have been enough of a difference maker. So Destiny just need to really work on that pistol game. And I think they have a very good shot at making it through to the grand finale of the lower side of CVAL's open bracket.
Who knew that good aim is conducive to winning in an FPS? How about that? Let's talk Rocket League here, as we had some more Cumberland action on the Rocket League side of things, as they took on Bruton Parker this past week in the upper bracket finals. And this was the one series, I think, of the entire SEL season I was thinking, okay, maybe Bruton Parker can step up and make Cumberland look human. And it was quite the opposite. It was Cumberland really humbling Bruton Parker in this series. I mean, coming out of the gates, 8-1ing them, that's a bad start for Bruton Parker. But they solidified a little bit going into game 2. They sewed up a couple of the mistakes that they were making in that first game. And from there on out, it was a fairly close series, but it felt like Cumberland were playing near perfection. And anytime that Bruton Parker made even the smallest of mistakes, Cumberland was right there to pounce on it. One bad commit, one bad third man read, Cumberland scoring off the back of it. And Bruton Parker put up good fights in games 3 and 4, but Cumberland kept them at arm's length. It felt like the whole series, just keeping them out with a 2-goal lead for the majority of those games as well. BPC would get close, and then Cumberland would score again. They'd find a way to increase that lead back to 2, and just was not manageable for Bruton Parker. So Cumberland are by far and away, and we kind of already knew this, the best Rocket League team in the SEL, and they've proved it time and time again, and now have 2 opportunities to claim that CECC spot in the grand finals against whoever does end up popping up from the James Madison and Bruton Parker lower bracket finals, because James Madison ended up taking down Kennesaw State, who subbed in Flitz, as we all know, for their lower bracket run of playoffs. And they put up a decent fight, But James Madison was just the more solid team through and through. KSU at times felt like the Flitz show, and that was how they stayed relevant in that series. But James Madison put together a fantastic series statistically for all three players. Pigeon was obviously a standout player, but Tyler, the guy I was talking about last week, who subbed in for ability, who can't make it to the SEL LAN, is playing all of playoffs. Tyler is still scoring as many goals as Pigeon is in these series. And I mean, Gad's still his same consistent self, but to bring in a new guy into the starting lineup after kind of benching him, putting him on the B team for the entire of the spring semester, it's impressive they can integrate him back into the starting lineup like that and find success. Now they're top 3 guaranteed.
Oh man, it's still so crazy to see all these teams that like I've been kind of like keeping an eye on throughout the weeks here for State of the SEL that we've had, and I'm like, okay, trying to remember Kennesaw State. I'm trying to keep an eye on them. You talked about them for 30 seconds longer than you did this team, and it's like, oh, that means something, right? That's got to clue into something. And then seeing like score lines like that, the Cumberland game, right? Seeing score lines go 8-1 in game 1, and just be like, wow, they're just as dominant wherever they go, no matter what the case could be. What's their tweet going to be about the SEL LAN? That's my biggest question, because they said your grand finals are just a Cumberland show house, right? For Valorant, since it was both their teams in. What are they going to do for the LAN? Especially if they end up winning both sides of the LAN, they're going to have a major target on their back. I think every team's going to do nothing but kind of review their play style, whether that be for Valorant or for Rocket League.
I mean, I have a feeling if, and it's looking like a win at this point, if Cumberland win the SEL LAN on both Rocket League and Valorant sides, Chili's is going to have a serious reservation put in after those grand finals ends. I think that's what's going to happen.
Not the Chili's. We go anywhere other than Chili's, guys.
20-person Chili's table. That's what's coming.
There's more to life. There's more to esport victories, Cumberland, than Chili's. You can go anywhere else. There's so many great places in Huntsville. I swear, it's been expanding. It's big now. Largest city in the state. There's better places than Chili's. Let's think outside the box here. I'm begging, Blake. Don't keep bringing it up.
They're changing the esports meal meta, though, because it used to be at LANs you would get Korean barbecue if you were being paid well, and then you still do sometimes, but it's shifting here. It's shifting. I mean, if you get paid well, it's KBBQ. If you don't get paid well, it's cookout. And so now we're meeting in the middle with Chili's. I like the meta defining that Cumberland's doing here.
Oh my goodness, that this is the absolute worst. We're regressing on the meal department for eSport LANs. Oh my goodness,
money's tight.
We're going to need to talk with them and get a new breakdown. But we would love to see all the teams meet out for a dinner. I know that Rocket League was able to do that last May, right? For the previous LAN, because y'all left early and left the Valorant people to clean up after yourselves and deal with the LAN stuff preparation for the next day. And we didn't get the chance to go have meals with our players the next day. I'm definitely not salty about that at all whatsoever. No, sure. I miss Polar from Oklahoma. That was my last chance to eat out with that guy. Either way, we're really excited, and I'm really looking forward to now that we've talked a little bit. Has it been confirmed that vocally yet that how the day format is now for the LAN, Blake?
I don't believe so. I don't think we've officially announced the schedules and formatting for.
But it should be.
Yeah.
We'll just say it should be a whole lot easier for those type of things to go out. There'll be more breaks, more options like that. So hopefully it makes things a lot easier for us to be able to talk with the players more often, have the players go and do things, enjoy the city a little bit more instead of feeling like it's super cramped overall. But with that being said, let's talk more about who our highlights of the week are overall. Yes. I think it's time to talk about individuals. For Valorant, I got to give it to Yokai. I touched them a little bit there for GMU. They were so darn ridiculous on map 2. Obviously, 26 kills, 19 assists. Was effective on both sides, both offense and defense, with a bomb defuse and a plant. And then turned that over 22 kills and 16 deaths with only 3 assists on map 1. They were just by far the most effective player, 48 kills in total. Barely missing out on the assist department to low fly. They're enough of an edge as a player individually to give them that eked win over UKY White, which in total you're looking at, casters don't do math here, 7-round difference across 2 maps, which is really tough considering that it was a Scent and Pearl that were in the docket for him. And one of those has to be your opposition's map pick, and you take that in a pretty good fashion, just a narrow margin between the two. And then for, team of the week, it's got to go to Cumberland Phoenix, right? There's nothing you do. You in the grand finals here for the SEL. It's going to go to you. I could have been cheeky and just said Cumberland and not told you, right? But I promise you, this is Cumberland Phoenix. We grayscaled Cumberland Destiny on the overlay previously, so this is all red and whatever other colors are there. I'm colorblind. This is Cumberland Phoenix. They were just by far the best team in the league, the best team in the playoffs, the best team throughout everything, and rightfully so deserve their victory and can confirm their 4th LAN for this semester for their roster.
And I mean, I think obviously we have to give team of the week to the Cumberland Valorant team. And I mean, the Rocket League team of the week is going to be the Cumberland Rocket League team too, but we should just lump that together and say the program of the week is Cumberland. 3 out of the 4 grand final spots in both esports as a Cumberland team. That's crazy. That's crazy levels of dominance. And at the start of the season, for like the first 60%, I think, we didn't do much covering of Cumberland because we knew towards the end of the season that they were going to be getting all of the coverage like this. I didn't know it was going to be at this level of domination, especially in Valorant, with Destiny looking as good as they are right now. But we're in Cumberland time in the SEL season. They are getting the bulk of the coverage here. So put the graphic up there. I mean, the Rocket League team of the week. It's Cumberland. They came out there and dominated the fall split champions of the SEL and are looking pretty to gain the CECC spot from the Southeastern Esports League. So Cumberland's really good, and we have learned that, and it's now official. But on the flip side, the player of the week, I am deviating from the Cumberland narrative because my player of the week is Pigeon from James Madison. In the series of theirs that we watched against Kennesaw State, he participated in 12 of the 13 goals that JMU put on the board. He had 5 goals scored himself and then 7 assists and 9 saves tossed in there as well, which was the most in the lobby by 3. He just had an incredible performance statistically, and we all know he is the star on that James Madison team, and he has elevated them from a top 12 team in the SEL to now top 3 minimum in an SEL. It's gotten even more competitive on the Rocket League side and just in general this season. So kudos to Pigeon. He has certainly earned the player of the week here, and we'll get to watch James Madison play in Bruton Parker on Wednesday in the lower bracket finals. See who gets that date with Cumberland in the grand finals. So congratulations to Cumberland and then Yokai and Pigeon who get some accolades as well.
We go from the legendary bird of a phoenix, right, rising from the ashes, to the New York street rat flying in the air back to back. Sorry, I was really just thinking about that half of that time. Those stats are very, very impressive. Oh, and then the ghost of a yokai, right? A spirit. So lots going on for the player and team highlights of the week. And a sad note to say when talking about JMU as well, I'll talk a little bit more about it later, them not making it on Valorant, being able to make the LAN as well and not be able to see them. But, you know, maybe they've been confirmed for Rocket League side. Will we see JMU in any capacity for the Rocket League LAN?
I believe so. We'll talk about the confirmed teams. I don't have the list pulled up immediately right now, but we'll talk about the confirmed LAN teams once we do get into the main Rocket League and Valorant portion. So let's go ahead and do that. I mean,
it's your time to shine now, Blake.
Let's talk about what happened in the Rocket League side of the SEL here, because we don't have a ton of results flowing in, but if we can show the brackets of the main playoffs on the screen here, we did say goodbye to a couple of teams early on as James Madison dispatched Bruton Parker Academy in sweeping fashion. Another reason why I had to give kudos to one of their players. And if you're looking to give kudos to one of the JMU players, it's typically Pigeon. That BPC Academy rosters look so good. Won a pair of big-time Game 5s to even make it to the top 6 of the SEL. And then they get flattened by the Dukes of James Madison. Kennesaw State B allowed to advance after Florida forfeit that match. I'm actually not sure why Florida did end up forfeiting there, but interesting development. It didn't really matter for the Gators as they're not going to be in attendance at LAN, so that is kind of a lackluster end to what's been a pretty good season for Florida. And so up top, we already talked about it. Cumberland and Bruton Parker play one another. And so we have our top 3. Cumberland and BPC were kind of guaranteed, but James Madison, out of all the rubble of the top of the SEL, they emerge as the 3rd best team in spring. And it's pretty impressive to be a podium team in the SEL with how competitive it's gotten on both fronts, Scott.
Yeah, I think I think when you look at a way a program can elevate, do we have to start doing like best program reward, like or award, I should say, at LAN, or like an end of season, like for most improved or things like that? Because I feel like we could give so many accolades to individual teams. Sometimes you also have to really give a shout out to, you know, where they're being provided for and where they are as a whole, and maybe where they're expected to be and then where they end. Right. There's
Yeah.
a lot of teams that kind of shocked a lot of people for Valorant. I'm sure it's the same thing here for Rocket League, as we've heard throughout the weeks with you listening and saying like, oh, an upset this week, close game this week, right? It really feels like some teams just really want to have it more than others, even if they can't make it all the way to the end. They really just want to get as far as they can.
Not a bad idea for the final state of the SEL. Maybe that we do prior to LAN. I think that could be a cool little
Ooh,
idea. Some accolades given out there. So we'll think about it. We'll mull on it. We got 3 weeks ish until the LAN officially gets underway. So some time to plan there. But Rising Star playoffs as well, still going on. If we can put that bracket up on the screen, because we've got a pretty electric rematch that'll be happening tomorrow, as Lander University Academy ended up getting out of the lower bracket into the top three to play Georgia again. If we can scroll up to the upper side of the bracket, they competed in the winners semifinals previously. It was a 3-0 for UGA. But I'm fairly certain that was a close series, and so for Lander, they get a second stab at the Bulldogs there. And Koopa Troopa is back from his
hey,
trip to Japan, and so he's back, gets to play, but he's going to be on low hours and maybe jet lagged as well. So I'm hoping that UGA is feeling all right for that series, because I know Lander University Academy is going to be hungry to get up to that grand finals, because I've said it in State of the SELs of past, but that program, Coach Faust leads them so well. They will always be hungry to compete and win, no matter the stakes, no matter the event. And I mean, there have been a lot of FFs in the Rocket League Rising Star bracket, but Lander has played out every single series. They're a top 3 team now officially, and I'm excited for that set against UGA this week. And then whoever wins that gets a date with UCF, who are definitely heavy favorites up in the grand finals right now to take it there. But either way, top 3 seeds in Rising Star make the top 3. How about that for good seeding?
oh, man. You'll love to see it across the board for that. And do how competitive has Rising Stars felt like for Rocket League this semester? Because I know Valorant has felt like it's been pretty closely conceded
Yeah,
for a lot of teams.
not on the same level as Valorant. There have been a lot of forfeits, a lot of 3-0s, but at the top of it, it's been extremely competitive. Like with UCF, UGA, Lander, UTA's teams made a couple deep runs. So I think once we got to the top 8, top 12, it got more competitive. And there were some teams that took it seriously, but I'm hoping in future semesters that it does get a little bit more competitive. But it was a lot of like E teams, D teams, F teams that for club programs, I don't know if they're as locked in. Like when we get to finals season, you start to lose a little bit of focus. But we'll see if we can't find a way to spice it up in the future, though.
All right, I'm looking forward to it. I think Rising Stars has been the single greatest addition to the SEL since the invention
Yeah.
of the SEL. Right, I love the Rising Stars and having these teams that don't really ever have their chance for playoffs get their own little bracket to literally fight to the death. It feels like
Yeah.
against each other and get more experience throughout the semester end.
Well, hopefully it'll get more competitive as we do develop it. In Valorant, it's been
It's been
fantastic. So
amazing.
I'm really glad to see that setting the tone for Rocket League going forward. But the last subject, definitely the polar opposite of the Rising Star playoffs, our current Star playoffs and our LAN. We do have our 8 confirmed teams. Fred sent out invites over the weekend, and right now we're looking at for Rocket League, Bruton Parker, they'll be making the trip. James Madison, East Tennessee, Cumberland. That's our top 4 right now. So we do get JMU. I know we were talking about them earlier on the Rocket League side. They'll be making the trip. And then Kennesaw State, UNC Charlotte, Bruton Parker Academy, and then UT Dallas, who fell just short of making a run officially to the top 8. But because some teams did decline those invites, including Florida, including South Carolina, UTD gets an invite. And so I'm excited to have them back, because they didn't make LAN because they didn't compete in the fall. That's the one reason why they didn't make it. So I'm glad to have them on LAN. It's looking stacked here.
Yeah, it's really hard for a team to get the points needed
Yep.
to go through. For Valorant, at least, it required you to make it to the finals to even clinch LAN. And I mean, Cumberland did it with both their teams, so it's whatever. But like, if you weren't a team there the previous splits, you had to make finals to clinch. Otherwise, you're stuck in a tiebreaker. And then by that point, it's still a question if you even can attend for being to that stage or anything in between. So really glad to see. It's sad to see teams not being able to make it and obviously giving up their spot, but it does give other teams, that chance. I know UAH for Valorant's foaming at the mouth with the idea that enough teams drop out ahead of them that they can make it to their own land,
Home
by the
team,
way, at their location. Maybe they'll shell out money to have the team travel in and see if they can make the land. But I know that there are some schools that are really looking forward to how that pans out, and also to the future for them and whether or not they could to make the next LAN or even more and see how the splits go, because I know we're constantly adding teams. I threatened Cumberland by saying I'm going to add in every team that beat them in CVAL South into the league. But we'll see how all of that goes down at the end of the day. Rocket League's spinning out to look real good, though, for LAN. I'm super excited to sub in 1 or 2 games total the entire time for Rocket League.
And you'll be watching fervently from the crowd, I'm sure, the entire time. But talking about UAH, maybe going to LAN like the $2 of gas money would cost them. We haven't yet had an SEL LAN that didn't feature a UAH team, as they were there for Rocket League the last 2. And obviously, losing B-More and Kozin, they didn't have the greatest season in Rocket League to make it back to their homeland. But for Valorant, I'm crossing my fingers for them. Obviously, I don't want teams to not be able to make it that earn their way there, but it would be cool to have UAH back.
Yeah, I got some talking points about it in the possible teams, right, for LAN, because there's been a couple that I confirmed not to be able to go, and then once we get those invites out, then we have to decide invited, a bunch of other things. There's a lot of nuances for it, but if that's it for Rocket League, I can jump on over towards
go for it.
The Valorant stuff. We'll start first with the playoff results and throw that up for you, just to kind of give everyone a breakdown. I didn't talk any about last week's game, obviously, because the finals, so nothing really mattered. Phoenix just dealt with GMU as needed. They did get, I think, 8 rounds or 9 rounds on one map, and it was pretty close. But past that, it did just feel like Phoenix were in control, and any rounds that GMU gained were mostly just off of good pistols and, bonuses after and the occasional stack up, as they did make a fairly good run as well over on Haven on their second map. As for JMU and Destiny, we had that game on broadcast. Really great series. Dallas and I absolutely enjoyed watching it. We think Destiny is an unbelievably talented team, and JMU as well was an unreal talented team. But Destiny came out on top, and they did it pretty dominantly. I mean, they dominated a team that was having a great show of dominating teams throughout the league. I mean, just look at JMU in round 2, taking down Charlotte Esports, who we thought was really good. They could have made a run against a lot of other teams in the bracket, and yet JMU handled them pretty clearly. So it was a great overall, round for the semifinal, but when Cumberland gets on Cumberland, that's when the final gets a whole lot more entertaining. But that's our playoffs, and obviously the finals was absolutely a pleasure to be there for that one as well. Let's turn it on over to the Rising Stars. I talked a little bit about their third place game of GMU versus UKY, and you touched on it a little bit earlier, saying, hey, that means that South Carolina is facing off against JMUB, and I think South Carolina absolutely can take this finals. I said if whoever in the top of this bracket gets to the finals, I think they would get it. And USC, we called them out all the way back in round 2. That we said the winner of East Tennessee State University versus USC was going to make it to the finals. It just felt like that was going to be the case because they gave a run for their money in the pool against UAH and against every other team that was in that pool. And that was a team that makes it to playoffs on the upper stage, and they almost beat them there. They were going to do really good in Rising Stars, and they obviously proved that to be the case. But it's just this unknown of JMU and how they're going to fare. Because JMU picked apart UKY White, and GMU also did, and look at how close that GMU and USC game was, going to all 3 maps, requiring a major comeback from USC. Actually required a major comeback on map 2 on split from GMU, and then USC to recover from the very close OT loss on map 2, heading off towards 3. But Rising Stars has been an absolute blast for Valorant, and while a lot of the scorelines look like they're 2-0s, right, and they are, it never felt like many of these were super blowouts past round 2. In round 3, I think the only major one there that was a blowout was GME versus Landers, and GME was going to do that to nearly every team down here for their B team roster. They were just really good. And I mean, even UTKY, who just trounced in match 15 down in round 2 against Liberty, got trounced the following week, right? Like, it was teams that did so well, same with Landers and Florida White, then having it turned back on their head. It just felt like the things were in the water overall for the Rising Star playoffs, and it was very great to see overall. Absolutely love this, and that leads us onto the main stage. If you want to, if we have a scene for this, Shock, I don't think we do. But it pulls us over to what our LAN teams are looking like. I know I had a little document previously for it. Here we go. This way you can look at the Wikipedia for it. GMU is confirmed, and I believe they are going to make it. UGA Black is confirmed they cannot make it. They would be a LAN pulled out of every individual player's budget to self-fund, and they just so I just said they can't ask their team to do that again. It's like their third one. So unfortunately, they had to unfortunately bow out. Even though they wanted to go to this LAN, it was the whole point in playoffs. They said, we know we have it. We just want to, pug stack the ending playoff brackets. And then Phoenix and Destiny confirmed their LAN visitation with the finals victory and finals appearance. UNCC, I believe they said they can make it, and they were looking really forward to it. And I've talked with Ruda as well. JMU confirmed on Twitter today or last night that they were not going to be able to make, Chicken Joe was not going to be able to make the LAN. So that is another slot that's open, and that leaves Oklahoma there. So with UGA Black gone and UNCC, and JMU gone, that's two slots that are there. Oklahoma should fit very easily up into there, so they have been confirmed with that, which if you're an Oklahoma fan, yippee, the chances of you having another instant SEO Classic on LAN is very much so there. You'll come in at a very low seed, but, anything can happen on LAN, and we've seen Oklahoma be a crazy LAN team, not expected to make it there into the finals, and then put up an insane map against Burton Parker. It's just what Oklahoma does best, but that brings the question of who's going to be that next invited team, and I'm half tempted to see if we see Cumberland Phoenix lose their CVAL match this week that they're playing on Thursday against, I think it's against Maryland, and just invite them to just so there's a team that could beat them to it. But the chances are it'll likely end up being something along the lines of, if UGA Red could really chance it to go through, we knew they made it far in playoffs. Maybe they would like to. Converse is doing great. Maybe they want to step in. They got knocked out early and they forfeited, obviously, in the first round of the early sides of playoff, but the prior round, what did we call that?
In the last chance qualifier?
Last chance qualifier. That's it. Thank you. They had to forfeit early in the last chance qualifier and didn't really get to play. That also is the only reason we see really Niner Esports move on like that. Actually, that was against LA Tech, but one of the reasons why we saw Niner Esports move on like that. And then, of course, Niner Esports also as well could be another team since they made it very far alongside UAH. These are teams that we're looking at and saying, what is the right idea for us to do? And so there's going to be a big discussion for the Valorant side of things to decide which team. We've talked about a couple. We brought them up, and I've just pointed them out there. But it's going to be a pretty tough decision overall for it. Maybe we pick four and you do a little bracket and face off like we were going to do anyways for tiebreakers, Blake, and have all the teams face off against each other. Maybe we do the exact same thing on the turnaround. And Texas State can't make it. They don't exist as a team anymore. So they made it far in playoffs, but their team is completely fallen apart to the dust. Thanos snapped into oblivion, and it leads us to here. But besides that, for Valorant, we also have CVAL stuff, right? I believe they was just made a post 2 hours ago on the Twitter page for University NA Esports that showed the bracket again. Shock if you have that available. I know I just said it to you like 20 minutes ago. I don't know if you were able to go in time. But the big one to look at is the upper rounds. Cumberland on Saturday pulled up a very good victory against Baker College. It was close on Pearl, and I've talked a lot about how Cumberland Phoenix feel like for Pearl for them is not great. But they got the job done, and now they're facing Maryville. They said they've beaten Maryville every time they've seen them, but Maryville is ridiculously good. And all of this could culminate to seeing, once again, Cumberland versus WVU, who were the team to win CVAL South and beat Cumberland in that final for CVAL South. It could culminate to that. But I think the toughest battle, the toughest side of this bracket looks to be just where Winthrop is, and then the remainder on the south side of this upper rounds. There's not a single team that's really a pushover. Maryville is amazing. Cumberland, we already know, is amazing. St. Clair are ridiculously dominant, and Fisher are fairly okay, I guess. But then you turn that in to the lower side, and even if you lose at this state, if Cumberland were to lose against Maryville on Thursday, they still would drop down. I believe they would face MBU, the winner of MBU and Cal, I think is what it goes to. They may go to Siena Heights and Northwood. This seems like it's been flipped from the sheet I had previously. But there are still some ridiculously good teams down here in the lower rounds to keep an eye on. And that also turns over to technically CVAL Open, because this is CVAL Championship. There's a championship running right now for CVAL Open as well. And Destiny are actually on that as well and still making their run through for CVAL. So they're still participating. Teams that unfortunately took losses this week, that being UCF, they got knocked out. Converse got into round 2 before they got knocked out, and they said this is the furthest they had made it. They were really happy with how they played. But Columbia is a ridiculously good team as well, being forced down from the upper round and losing in round 1, I think, to Fisher, or maybe it was Maryville, actually. Don't remember. But there are some really good teams and some teams to look out that we saw in the SEL or knew from the SEL. Who is it? When did they get dropped out? They get dropped out? Am I crazy? Oh, Columbia just had a first round bye. I am crazy. I ignore that.
Yep. We knew that, though.
Okay, thank you for that.
I have to say, real quick, I follow a couple of Valorant analysts on Twitter, and they were doing CVAL predictions, and a couple of them had Baker beating Cumberland, and just out of
the sheer
SEL
amount
bias,
of disrespect Cumberland gets in the CVAL pick'ems groups. I work with both Zobi and with Sam, and I believe Zobi's the only one on the team, but I get onto their case a lot. I'm like, Cumberland is going to win these games. Now I'm at the territory where I don't know if they're going to win because it's Maryville and anything can happen in these series, right? But like Cumberland was absolutely going to get much further than anyone was kind of putting it. I think Cumberland in Valorant, people look down on the SEL in some capacity for some reason because smaller and a lot of the teams aren't as good as say other places. So they don't really look at it as highly for a testament of who they're facing. But Cumberland works so hard, it doesn't really matter who they're facing. They're going to grow and improve throughout every single match. And they can take down good teams. And they have proven that through CVAL South. They got first, technically second because they lost in the final in CVAL South. But people are looking at CVAL South as this like weak region when it 100% absolutely is not. And people just like to see, oh, NECC has these top 5 teams. They're the best teams. Ignore everybody else. Because there's a ton of teams in EDCC, so they're like, oh, it's the strong eat the strong. I think that's an absolutely ridiculous idea. I think you need to look absolutely the whole picture of everything, and CVAL South is arguably the second strongest region in all of CVAL throughout the nation.
All right. Well, I was like, out of sheer SEL bias, I had no idea anything about Baker College. I've never heard of them
They're
before.
good. They're actually really good, but they have a Yoru one trick.
And they're in
slaughter
CVAL,
Yoru one tricks.
Well, they did there, and I was just out of sheer SEL bias. I was like, "Come on, what on earth are we doing here? Cumberland's obviously going to win." Is Winthrop not in CVAL South?
No, Winthrop is not CVAL South. They got through on NECC. They're the number 1 seed. So they got through on NECC, I believe. I can take a look real fast. I have the whole document. I'm not allowed to share this document though. So okay. I can look at it. I apologize.
Because I know Winthrop is in region. I just don't know anything about how CVAL works. So I'm learning. But Scott's diving into the books here for us.
I am indeed.
Real fast.
So Winthrop is in ECC. Yeah. So Winthrop, Fisher, and UCF got through on NECC.
Okay.
Which again, UCF barely makes it through on SEL this semester and gets through into NECC. So it's like this. I don't know. It really irks me because you have ridiculously good teams in South. The old champions of Texas A&M Maroon, right? They literally won last year's championship. I was there. Mm-hmm. I celebrated with them, right? We hung out. We got drinks afterwards. Like, they're a great team, and they were really ready for the next run and go. And they're still very good, but they had to be the invited team for the South. And then you still had 4 teams that performed better than them above them. And you're looking at an ex-champion and discounting the South region. I don't know. You can tell I'm very livid about how they treated CVAL South because I get it. We used to kind of be the laughing stocks of CVAL. We weren't great, but we still were like high competitors. And North is the scariest region by far, though. Maryville, Northwood, MBU were good. Baker College is consistent. Then CSB being invited, and then like Winthrop can fit in anywhere. Fisher can fit up there. There are scary programs across the board, but as a individual region and not just being a league invited team, South is second, if not fighting for first place for overall competition level, especially when you consider that, Winthrop and UCF and Converse that made and KSU are teams that could be considered under the South blankets for CVAL, but get through on league buys.
All right. Hey, I'm learning as much as I can right now at CVAL. So thank you for the insight there. Good luck to our teams still alive. I think it is just Cumberland still alive in CVAL that officially competes within the SEL. But that does bring us to our just within SEL news here. We don't have a ton. Mostly it is just reminders about the high school LAN happening on the first day of our SEL LAN, the Friday before. So if you have high school contacts, know a team might be interested to traveling to Huntsville. We've got several teams so far, but still do have a couple of spots left. As it is a direct invite LAN now, we're trying to get teams that are able to travel kind of on short notice here in the next month or so. I know it's not as easy in high school to just pack up and go to a LAN, but it's going to be a good one. We've got some top teams from Georgia, top teams from Alabama guaranteed to be there. So looking forward to that. And I think within SEL news, is that all we've got, Scott?
I think that is. Yeah, I think that's the limited info we have. I mean, besides big congratulations again to the grand final victors of Valorant, right? Like,
Yeah, big one. Hey, Cumberland is as good as we thought they were, I think, and they're earning all the accolades now. Looking forward to seeing what they can do in Rocket League on Wednesday as they sit atop the throne so far. But one last shout out outside of the SEL. This is SEL on LAN. This was supposed to be a LAN event, but I think it was more of a hybrid online. Maybe some teams were on LAN. I'm not sure. It was an odd event. But the GCU Spring Showdown did feature an SEL team win as Florida got the dub here, and it had some competitive teams. And we can skip off of the Swiss stage setup as this is where it really did get competitive with East Tennessee State, Florida are our main SEL representatives here, and then GCU Northeastern are really good teams. But Florida ended up getting the win there. I heard it was a scuffed LAN, but I know Florida did earn the win here. So they got their W. It came up short at the collision on the coast. They come up short in the SEL in the playoffs. So they got their big event win. So shout out to the Gators. Hammy Crackers was the MVP of the entire tournament. And so yeah, shout out to the Gators for representing the Southeastern Esports League well.
yeah, I think Florida was representing the Valorant side of esports for SEL as well. Like with how many teams they brought in, I love to see schools taking advantage of having, you pay in a budget for the whole program, right? And taking advantage of getting many teams as possible. They had like 3 or 4 Val teams, it felt like. I can't keep up with all the colors. I just ignore colors in general, a lot like my eyes tend to do. But Florida, I love seeing schools take advantage and having a lot of rosters because it makes us look more impressive. We have 50 teams, you can say, and it's more, but it's more so just about like they're trying to build up a whole lot. I love seeing that, especially if you can get LAN wins. I mean, that's an even bigger thing. Bring a trophy, put it on a case, and get some more students to go, okay, maybe this is the esports school I want to head to.
Florida's building themselves up right now, so good program over there. But we unfortunately won't see them in the Rocket League finals this coming Wednesday. Our top 3 will kick off the lower bracket finals, Bruton Parker and James Madison, and the winner of that gets Cumberland in Grands. And then Valorant on Thursday, I know we're looking at potentially seeing the Rising Star finals, maybe on stream, maybe not. Either way, it is happening, so keep an eye out for it. There's a lot still going on in the SEL, and shout out to the CECC, the seeding show is this coming Friday, 8 Eastern time, on the Esports U main channel. So watch that as we'll know the SEL representatives from Rocket League by then. We already know it for Valorant. It is Cumberland, and it's looking like it's going to be Cumberland as well from the Rocket League side. But that does do it for State of the SEL tonight. Shout out to Mr. Infernosis in the booth with me here. Shout out to Shaka in the background producing for us. And that'll do it for our podcast. I've been Bepic. I'll see you tomorrow for Rocket League, 7 Central. Peace out.